Best linebacker in the Big 12, check. Best linebacker core in the Big 12, check. Best safety that is bigger than 90% of the Big 12 linebackers, check. But if Kendal Daniels is now over 230 pounds, that means the safety room is going to look a little bit different. But different does not mean worse.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms. We're visually back as well on YouTube, and you can find me personally on X, aka Twitter, at AllDayOState. Today, we get to dive into the fun world of being ruthless, being reckless, and obviously being ready. Last season, the linebacker core was a big question entering the year. The addition of Justin Wright, we knew was going to be pretty big time in helping supplant any concerns. And then we saw the emergence of Nick Martin to come on and be the best linebacker in the Big 12, one of the best linebackers in the country. And now you have Justin Wright returning for this season on top of some heavy hitters that have been here like Donovan Stevens for several years behind him, pushing him. And then you look at the safety position, and we've heard the reports that Kendal Daniels is now upwards of 231 pounds. He can still run a 4.5 40. He's still 6'4". So he's a nightmare of a safety for anybody in the country. Matter of fact, he's going to be like an NFL pedigree of what you want out of a safety. But if he's going to be creeping up to the box a little bit more, if he's going to be thumping and banging heads a little bit more, because that suits him, right? It's a little bit more natural. That means getting burnt in the back end still has to be resolved, because last season that was an issue. More often than not, teams that had the ability, now they did have to have some special wide receivers, running backs coming out of the backfield to pull it off. But the ones who did, they did find us in some pretty bad spots. And you saw some players getting burnt deep throughout the course of the season. Kendal Daniels obviously being one of those. Trey Rucker got burned a decent amount. Not only did he get burned a decent amount, but I think it's fair to say a decent amount of teams pinpointed Trey Rucker as the guy that they wanted to find a way to get crossed up, mixed up, and deep with a running back or a wide receiver. Sometimes it worked out, right? He had a couple massive picks this year. He had a couple massive forced fumbles. He had a couple big-time fumble recoveries. All of that fits the bill for what we know of Trey Rucker. But I want to go back in memory lane a little bit here, because what we need from Trey Rucker this year is to be considerably faster, right? But if you look back at what he was able to do athletically in high school and the transition from his time in high school to Wake Forest to now, you do see a lot of muscle mass development, right? He entered his college career as a certified bonus start 3-star by ESPN and Rivals. And he had a lot of opportunities, not only from Virginia. Clemson was in on him quite a bit. Obviously, he decided to take his talents to Wake Forest. Maryland really wanted him pretty hot and heavy for a long time. Because of what he was able to do in the state of Virginia, coming out of high school, he was only 5'11", 180 pounds. And yes, he was a safety. He was a certified bona fide, like I said, Rivals, 247, ESPN, 3-star guy. But he also had almost 700 yards receiving in 2017 and 2018. And then he makes the jump to Wake Forest. I understand it's Wake Forest, and that's not like the cream of the crop when it comes to college football, but it's still Division I football. And he started as a true freshman at Wake Forest. Not only did he start as a true freshman at Wake Forest, but he was number 4 on the team in tackles. He was number 4 in the entire ACC for all freshmen in tackles. He was able to pump out 661 snaps just as a freshman at Wake Forest. Anybody who can start at any level of college as a true freshman has something that's a little bit different than most everywhere else. And then he decides to round out his Wake Forest career in impressive fashion by transferring to Oklahoma State University. Whenever he gets to Oklahoma State, we know that we don't have a big need, right? So what does he do when he comes? He basically has a nice little redshirt style of season, right? And whenever you did see him play in 2021 before the 2022 redshirt was glimpses of, oh, that dude's crazy, right? That dude does not care if he breaks every bone in his body trying to make a tackle. Again, it reminded me a lot of Calvin Bundage. Calvin Bundage was the guy you'd send on blitz packages. Even after his devastating back injury, he could still get down the line and cause some havoc and make some stuff happen. And he didn't care if he got a 15-yard penalty. He didn't care if he got an offsides penalty. Now, when I say he didn't care, I'm sure he did from a team perspective. But individually, he knew that if you let him eat, he was going to be able to produce. That looked like Trey Rucker a couple years ago. He didn't get a lot of PT, but when he did get playing time, you literally saw him flying into the screen all the time, flying over dudes. Like he would miss tackles by just being way too aggressive, but it was fun to see. It was fun to watch. And even then it was like, okay, well, when he has a little bit more body by glass, I would like to see what this kid running around like a crazy person can do with a little bit more mass and a little bit more structure. Well, he got massive, right? We wanted a little bit more mass. We got it. And then it made him, I would argue, maybe even too big. He is that human hit stick. He's the hammer to the anvil. He's the guy who's going to stick his nose in there and cause irrevocable damage as much as physically possible. And now that we've seen him do that, and then this previous season, we saw him show up and show out a decent amount of the time. The only downside to Trey Rucker was the getting burnt deep. And again, I want to retrace back to what he was in high school, a 5'11", 185-pound athlete. He did punt returns. He was a wide receiver, slot receiver. Obviously played safety, played corner, played free safety as well. He did a little bit of everything because he had the capability to do such. And then we see the development side, and now we see him as a consummate professional in the run game, but his limitations in the pass game should be, I would say, motivation for him. He has recorded a 4.59 40 on the books. So speed has not been a major issue, right? It's been about understanding pursuit angles a little bit better and just beefing up. Well, he's done the pursuit angles thing. He's done the beefing up thing. This season, if Kendal Daniels is getting bigger and you've got a buddy now in Kobe Hylton that can do a little bit of everything as well. He's not as big as you. He's not as strong as you, but he brings the same skill set that you do. This year, I expect Trey, and so we don't need another big, bulky body by glass year for Trey. We need Trey to go back to his freshman year at Wake Forest and his senior year of high school athleticism when he was a return specialist and a wide receiver. We need that Trey Rucker. And if that Trey Rucker can get on track in 2024, this safety room can go from one of the biggest disappointments last season to the calling card for the defense this season. I really thought the safety position group was going to carry us last year just because of talent. Well, this year we have talent and depth and understanding, plus we have some dudes getting considerably bigger, which means the versatility that the safety position already had just got bigger, badder, and better. With the addition of Kobe Hylton, with the weight gain of Kendal Daniels, if Trey Rucker can slim down just a bit and get back to the speed days that he had early on at Wake Forest and coming out of high school, this is a different Trey Rucker. Now this is a headhunter Trey Rucker that will take your head off, that will bust you in the ear hole, but also be able to run down the sideline with you. See, that was a little bit of a limitation with Trey last year. And teams found ways to get Trey Rucker matched up one-on-one going deep. Sometimes it worked out, but a decent amount of the time it did not. If Trey Rucker can bring the speed back to Stillwater, then Trey Rucker will allow the safety room to take the next level. Again, we get Lyrik Rawls back, and with Kobe Hylton, this is going to look a little bit different. It should be better. And I think one of the catalysts for it being better is going to have to be Trey Rucker. And if Trey Rucker does have this next level of improvement, that actually frees up Kendal Daniels to do more headhunting. If Trey Rucker can cover more of the back end and Kendal Daniels can go more headhunter mode, that is beautiful for Oklahoma State. And then you factor in Cam Epps doing the same as well. We have versatility that not anybody else in the league has. We need to be able to show that off this season. And I think Trey Rucker is going to be a big reason why we're able to do so. All right, before we jump into another position group that we're going to need to be absolutely massive this season, I have to let the fine folks out here know you got to be the MVP. You can't be the MVP to anything if you can't get to the anything to be the MVP for, which is why eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to choose from. It is the number one to keep your rider, and they have everything you need to maintain your vehicle, whether it be peak performance needs with superchargers, or you just want it to look super fly rolling down the road with roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lighting kits. It doesn't matter if you're into speed, power, or style. eBay Motors has you covered. They have the passion, drive, and patience to help you bring home the W. eBay also has guaranteed fit, which means your part is guaranteed to fit your rig every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, the objective is to have you burning rubber instead of cash. With all the parts you need, all the prices you want, it is so easy to turn your rig into the MVP and bring home the W. Keep your ride or die alive and bring home the W today with eBay Motors. Go to ebaymotors.com. Again, that is eBay Motors today. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers because, of course, you guys are special. Oklahoma State has a backfield special. Well, we have somebody in the backfield who's very special. I know, sorry, words are hard for me. But everybody and their mom is going to be very well aware about Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon is not a secret like he was last season. And as we all recall, coming into the Big 12 title game, the talk around the country was, if you stop Ollie Gordon, you beat Oklahoma State. All Texas has to do is stop Ollie Gordon, they beat Oklahoma State. Well, a lot of Texas fans will tell you that they stopped Ollie Gordon, which statistically, they're not wrong. I think he rushed for like 30-something yards, yeah. But what Texas fans won't admit is that Ollie was like 80% going into the game. Matter of fact, I know for a fact that he was recommended to not play, or at least not start. He was like, no, I'm not doing that. It's a Big 12 title game. It's Texas. They want some, they can come get some. And as we all watched, in like the third or fourth play of the game for Ollie, that same ankle got rolled up on. And yeah, when you see Ollie Gordon get taken out at the beginning of the first quarter, it's going to be difficult, right? So that peels the next layer of the onion. And that is, if everybody's plan is to stop Ollie Gordon, well, that's going to open up a lot of the passing game. Yes, sure, absolutely. And as we've discussed, whether it be Alan Bowman, Garrett Rangel, or even Zane Flores, we're going to have enough talent with 6/7 Power 5 Division I starting offensive linemen returning to Oklahoma State, well, 6 returning and 1 entering. On top of Ollie Gordon, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, we should be pretty secure in that side of the game, correct? But when you look at what everybody else is looking at, if teams can find a way to corral Ollie Gordon, the latter half of the season, keeping him healthy, is going to be vital. Running into another scenario where we enter the Big 12 title game with an 80% Ollie Gordon, regardless of what's happening all at the other positions, that's not ideal. So in order for Ollie Gordon to maintain the right amount of health to get to the end of the season, that means the other guys have to step up too. And guys, we all saw little flashes of what Sesi Vailahi could be, right? He's a speed guy. He's somebody that needs to add a little bit of the body by glass system. And now he's going from number 20 to number 3. He's going to be reminiscent of what Jaden Nixon was going to be able to hopefully provide for Oklahoma State. And then you take into consideration A.J. Green's coming over from Arkansas. This is the same A.J. Green that was able to run for 953 yards at his time in Arkansas. He was able to do a lot of things versatility-wise, whether it be in the return game or the backfield, which should spell Ollie Gordon just enough. With the combination of Sesi Vailahi and A.J. Green, Oklahoma State's running back room should be fine in giving Ollie Gordon enough rest to be perfectly healthy by the end of the season. If A.J. Green is that lightning package that we think he can be, then we're in good shape. And same thing with Sesi Vailahi. I like Sesi. I think Sesi's got a very bright future in Stillwater. But Sesi is more of a scat back style of guy. Sesi is going to be fairly reminiscent of Jaylen Warren to some degree, but he's not quite there yet. Jaylen Warren has that bowling ball capability to hit a dude and bounce off. Sesi still has to get that. He's got the straight line speed. He's got the versatility or dexterity, I guess you could say, to make people miss. But he doesn't have all the well-rounded qualities that Jaylen had just quite yet, which means if A.J. Green can slide in year one seamlessly to spell Ollie Gordon at times and to take the game over at times, then we're in good shape. Again, everybody's going to be looking for Ollie Gordon. Everybody's going to be talking about Ollie Gordon. Everyone's going to want to stop Ollie Gordon. So it's the guys outside of that might make this season more important. Just like the linebacker core, we know how good Nick Martin is. I think we all know how good Justin Wright is. And those two together are going to be very reminiscent of what we had with Xavier Benson last season. If we can see some development out of the safety room, and then we get one of these two guys to be running back two, that's huge. And when I say running back two, that means that we're going to have to rush for like 2,000 yards. All right. So if Ollie Gordon, if we know he's a 1,500-yard guy all day, every day, yeah, sure. That means these other two dudes have to get us an additional 500 yards, whether that's 500 from A.J. Green by himself and none from Sesi, or it's 250 from Sesi, 250 from A.J., whatever that case may be. If Oklahoma State is rushing for over 2,000 yards this season, I think that might be the difference between getting to Arlington and winning it in Arlington. Again, we can have a conversation about the quarterback room all we want to. But we all know that we're not going to know how that thing shakes out until not even after spring, right? Not even after South Dakota State, but maybe after Arkansas. Speaking of Arkansas, would that not be the sweetest day? I mean, I've already said that when we play Arkansas, A.J. Green will surpass his highest rushing total at Arkansas, which I believe was 81 yards or 84 yards. You got to make me look good here, Mr. A.J. Green. And the only way that's feasible is if he has a breakout game, or Ollie gets hurt, or we're in control of the game and he gets a very healthy fourth quarter dose. That's what I'm looking for here. Now, it would be great if we start the game off, few handoffs to Ollie, few passes, and then the first handoff to A.J. Green, he goes 84 yards. That would be great. But you know that game is circled on his calendar. You know that A.J. Green is going to do everything in his power to make sure that he is the RB2 and the dude to take any handoffs away from Ollie Gordon. And talk about a good breakout day. If A.J. Green does that, he rushes for over 81 or 84 yards, whatever it is, in an Oklahoma State uniform against Arkansas, that, ladies and gentlemen, will show us what the future of the season can be with Ollie Gordon and Sesi and A.J. in the backfield. Now, I'm not out on Alan Hendricks either. I think he's going to be an absolute savage. But he's going to probably take a couple of years to kind of get where we need him to be. So A.J. Green and Sesi Vailahi are going to be massive for Oklahoma State this coming season. You could argue they're going to be as massive as Ollie Gordon, because this is not a knock on Jaden Nixon, right? But if Jaden Nixon was a little bit more, then Ollie gets a little less carries. and maybe Ollie's a little more healthy at the end of the season. This coming year, with the talent and the depth, it's going to be more like a marathon and less about a sprint. We've got the guys to do the sprinting. I think we've got the guys to do marathon, but it's these secondary pieces that are going to be massive. AJ Green on one side, you got Trey Rucker on the other side. Guys like that are going to be more important than your Ollie Gordons and your DeZon Striblings on the year. It is what it is. Depth equals success because of the reps and the look you get in scout team. We're getting the depth at the level it needs to be the best in the Big 12. Now it's this season's the time to show it. OU and Texas are gone. This is the season to flex your muscles. Yes, we have Ollie Gordon, but hold my beer, we also have AJ Green. We also have Sesi Vailahi. Yeah, you all know about Nick Martin. You all know about Kendal Daniels, Colin Oliver. Hold my beer. See what Trey Rucker can do. See what Lyrik Rawls can do. See the emergence of Cam Epps. It's the secondary pieces that will dictate the success of the season for Oklahoma State in 2024. Speaking of successful seasons, you could say that to some degree, but you could also voice some disappointment in how some of these Big 12 tournaments have shaken out for us. But before we do that, it's time to get your bank account handy or ready to be handy with FanDuel. Right? You can say goodbye to any bracket busting because FanDuel lets you bet on every single game, not the entire bracket. You can bet on every game. And whether you're betting on big-time upsets or you're going to ride with the one seed to the title, it's time that you go dancing with America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, that is $200 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, whether it be point spreads, money line, over, under, who's going to score the next bucket, or who's going to win the whole daggone thing. Make sure that you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on the college hoop madness before the nets get cut down. By going to FanDuel.com/lockedon, go there now to get started with FanDuel, the official partner of the NBA. So, basketball tournament. Let's talk about the men's game. That's going to get its own segment, right? So, that is what it is. But we can't just talk about that in a few minutes. What we can talk about in a few minutes is women's basketball. And if you watch that game, it was a game that we should have won. It was a game that we controlled a decent amount. It was a game that some of the foul trouble and bench rotation issues that have been a hindrance for us most of the season didn't pop up most of the game. We were able to navigate the foul troubles and only having 7-8 girls for a large portion of the game. And as we discussed earlier, yeah, I didn't have a lot of faith in us making a crazy Big 12 tournament run, but I had faith in winning this game and setting up Bedlam number 3. Well, that didn't happen. Therefore, it's fair to say that this season was a disappointment for J.C. Hoyt and the Cowgirls. She bet heavy on international transfers and things of that nature. We love Anna Gradasi. We love Leor Garzon. So the international stuff, love it. But we don't love seeing all of the transfers that you brought in other than Hannah Gusters not even really play. Now, Douglas went through some injuries throughout the course of the year, and then she disappeared, right? I know Chandler, that injury was something that you couldn't foresee. So, right, that sucks. But losing Kennedy, the Fauntleroy, that was huge, right? And that's an error in J.C. Hoyt's evaluation of the transfer market. We can talk all day, every day about Mike Boynton and how terrible he is at the execution of X's and O's on the court. But, you know, is the Isaiah Miranda situation somewhat reminiscent of what we went through with Kennedy? Maybe. But this season is more about the what ifs, right? What if Kennedy would have played this season? What if Douglas would have played this season? Or what if Chandler would have been healthy the entirety of the year? What if? What if we weren't down to just 7, 8 players all year? But those what ifs, yeah, they'll get you a pass. Okay, that's fine. But those what ifs need to be addressed. They need to be corrected. If you're not setting out to dominate the local recruiting scene, I mean, what are we doing? And if you're getting a bunch of big-time transfers that come in, they've got to play. I mean, again, the same with Isaiah Miranda. That was a disaster by Mike Boynton. Because if Isaiah Miranda plays this year next to Brandon Garrison, completely different season. But that if didn't happen. If Mike Boynton can, call X's and O's and pull up some half court in the final 90 seconds of a game, this season would look a lot different. It's the same thing with Cowgirl basketball. If Kennedy played with Hannah Gusters, maybe this season is way different. But I'm tired of the ifs. I'm sure you guys are as well. So if we're going to continue to ride this J.C. Hoyt train, we're going to need to see something out of the transfer portal market that sticks. Right? Because the talent wasn't a problem. Coaching, not necessarily a problem. But when you only have 7 players and then you have one player in foul trouble, now you're having to change everything. Right? You're going to have to let them go down the lane because you cannot be as aggressive. You can't try to step in and take charges as much. And that's a limitation. So although this season didn't go how we wanted, it didn't look anything like the previous season with J.C. Hoyt at the helm. Yeah, she's more than deserved another year. And this season, it just needs to be more of a fine-tooth comb in how we deal with it, the transfers. Okay, and then in more Big 12 tournament news, the Cowboy wrestling squad lost the Big 12 championship to Iowa State, the same Iowa State team that we beat in the regular season. Coleman Scott coming on board is the right call, right? If we had something like that in baseball, it would make losing in a super regional or regional a lot more manageable. But we don't. We have Rob Walton, okay? And he makes me want to pull your hair out. Big 12 wrestling is good. We knew Mizzou was going to be a problem. We knew Iowa State was going to be a problem. But I don't think any of us expected us to lose. Losing to Iowa should have been a little bit of a reset, but it wasn't. The Big 12 tournament was a continuation of the Iowa duel. So after falling flat on our face for Iowa, after a phenomenal season, a season that gave us that hope of, making a run. Have we had conversation about winning the whole national title? No, we have not. We could get there, but we knew we weren't going to win it this season. But getting second was a possibility. Well, after that performance in the Big 12 tournament, getting second in nationals now looks like an uncertainty. Now looks like third or fourth, which is okay for some, but not okay for Oklahoma State wrestling. What I will say is this was a big jump for John Smith from the last 2 years to this season. And then obviously when you bring in Coleman Scott and that has the desired effect, I think everybody in Cowboy country is pretty happy with where wrestling is now. We're not happy, but we're okay. We're content with what it looks like moving forward, and we have another massive recruiting class coming in. So yeah, it's not the desired outcome. It's not the outcome that I thought was going to happen. I did think that we would beat Mizzou. I thought we would beat Northern Colorado, Northern Iowa, whatever, Iowa State. But it is what it is. And now we know what we need to work on. And we also know that Iowa State, I wouldn't say they're back, but they're pretty daggone close, which is a good thing because it's hurt my heart watching Cale Sanderson dominate at Penn State while Iowa State's been up and down, up and down, up and down. I want Iowa State to be good. I wanted them to be good with Cale Sanderson as the coach, but it doesn't matter. If they're good, it's good for the Big 12, which means it's good for us. Not so good that we lost the Big 12 championship, but We'll be all right. We're in good hands. Like the direction, like Coleman Scott. Alrighty, y'all. So we're going to have for this one right here. You know I love you. As always, God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State.